WION has finally managed to track the whereabouts of the Indian jailed in Pakistan. Ansari's case came to the fore after 24-year-old Pakistan journalist Zeenat Shehzadi, who was abducted by unidentified men in 2015, filed a plea in Pakistan Supreme Court on behalf of Nihal Ansari's mother. According to reports, Ansari came to Pakistan pursuing his love affair with a girl over the internet. After the girl invited him to her home in Kohat city, where he was taken into custody, Nihal was convicted for espionage and sentenced to 3 years imprisonment by a Pakistani military court. Meanwhile, Nihal's counsel, Qazi Muhammad Anwar, has filed a petition in the Peshawar High Court seeking his release since he has already completed 3 years of his sentence. The next hearing in the case will take place on November 1st. Now, moving on, within this story, the important part is that person who was accused of being an intelligence agent and had been kept behind the bars for more than 3 years, Pakistani authorities have chosen to remain silent on this. Now, WION has investigated this story. WION has tracked an Indian who is lodged in the Pakistani jail for the last 5 years. The victim, Hamid Nihal Ansari, a resident of Mumbai, has been traced to Mardan Central Jail, nearly 50 kilometers from the Pakistani city of Peshawar in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Nihal had been in Pakistani police custody after he crossed into Pakistan from Afghanistan, where he went to look for a job in 2012. WION's Islamabad Bureau Chief Taha Siddiqui was also briefly detained by Pakistani authorities while tracking jail Nihal Ansari. WION earlier spoke to Hamid Ansari's mother, Fawzia, who is desperate to hear a word from her son. It's been 5 years since her son has been languishing in a Pakistani jail. Let's listen to her emotional ordeal.
On behalf of your channel, because we are just like a mute people, the voice could not be heard. Through you people, our voice can be heard. And whoever is listening, I appeal all the people, please release my son also. 5 years, no contact. I don't know how is my son. I can only say my son, his intention was not wrong. Though he did a mistake, he should have not gone without proper documents. But for 3.5 years, he was missing and we never knew whether he is alive or not. At least this much I know, that he is in jail, going imprisonment for 3 years. Now it is 5 years completed. And I don't know how and what condition he is. I just appeal, I pray, I beg that for the sake of humanity, please return my son. We have fully dependent upon our Indian government, because the day one we came to know that this happened, that time we surrendered everything to our government. I met Ma'am Susma Swaraj several times, and she is such a dynamic lady. She has assured me that she will help. So I am very much assured, I am very much hopeful that she will definitely help. And of course she will help. They will bring my son back.
And on this, I am joined by defense analyst from Islamabad, Umar Kamar Chima. And subsequently, I'll be joined by WION's Pakistan Bureau Chief, Taha Siddiqui. But Mr. Chima, to you first. This looks out to be a pretty, and thank you for making time for WION, sir. This looks out to be a pretty simple case. You know, the person has served his sentence. It was a case of an illegal crossing. It was a case where he fell in love with a woman over the internet, and then he should have been released. So what is the hesitation, one, and why, and the sudden disappearance of the girl? What does it tell us, sir?
Well, I think we're here in Pakistan are really worried that why Indians keep coming wearing different masks in Pakistan and in the garb of intelligence. Mr. Hamid was using 7 Facebook accounts and he was having 30 email addresses while he came here. So when the intelligence agencies got the man, and he was actually working undercover, one thing. Second, while knowing the situation, while knowing Pakistan, what kind of relations Pakistan and India enjoy, and Pakistan keep on blaming that India, RAW and NDS are working together, and the gentleman is traveling from Afghanistan to Pakistan and coming into the KPK, into the conflict zone that is near KPK FATA. I think the situation is very unfortunate the way he has been caught, one thing. The environment is not fine under which he has traveled to Pakistan. But as you are showing her mother's mercy appeal, I think nations don't believe on emotions. I respect her mother, the way she's talking. I think I actually feel for her. But I think the nations don't feel. And I think her son has been trapped some way, one way or the other, by the agencies, of the Indian agencies, to go and work and operate.
Okay.
And as you are talking, as you are talking about a woman journalist in Pakistan, we believe that the journalists are in trouble in developing countries, in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh. And since Zinat Shehzadi has been on face, and she has come, but we don't know the details, and till the details don't come, we cannot comment on that.
Okay, you stay with me. I'm also joined by our Bureau Chief, Islamabad Bureau Chief Taha Siddiqui on this. Taha, you have been covering this case. You had gone to Mardan and Peshawar. What delays the release once the sentence has been served, Taha?
Well, basically, Karthike, the jail authorities, what they're saying is that he's not eligible for the remission. Now, remission is basically is given to prisoners who basically have spent a few years in jail. They're given some time off, in the sense that, for example, there are public holidays, there are religious holidays, and just for good behavior, generally good behavior, prisoners are given remission, and so some days are taken off from their imprisonment. Now, with Hamid, he has had a 3-year sentencing for his espionage, and from what we understand, his family claims that he had disappeared in 2012. So, given that, he's already spent 5 years in custody, but the authorities say that he had already been found in 2015 December, and since then he was convicted. So his conviction should end in December 2018. So that will be 3 years, and even in those 3 years, they're not giving him the remission. So the lawyer is saying that because he was not involved in anti-state activities, yes, definitely he entered Pakistan illegally. According to the lawyer, he says yes, he does not have proper documents of entering into Pakistan from Afghanistan, and then he was carrying some friend's ID card and posing it as his own ID card, which was a Pakistani ID card. So then also that is impersonation. So because of these two things, definitely he deserved some punishment according to the law of the land. But definitely he was not involved in anti-state activities, because from the looks of it and from the case study that the lawyer has done, he says that he could not find any, the authorities could not find any such evidence. They initially did claim that he was carrying maps, or he had many social media accounts and all that, but later on they couldn't really prove that, or could not provide that evidence in the courts. So now the lawyer is saying that he should be eligible for remissions, but the jail authorities say that because his challan, or the charges he's convicted for include anti-state activities, such prisoners do not get any remission or any relief. So because of that, now on November 1st, they have a hearing next week, in which the lawyer has filed a petition through Hamid Ansari, and in that petition, basically they are pleading that the courts give them some relief in this regard.
Okay, Taha and Mr. Chima, both of you stay with me, but let's dip into the report which my colleague Taha filed from Pakistan.
I'm standing here outside the Mardan Central Jail. Behind me you can see this is the road that leads to the Mardan Central Jail, and it is here where the Indian national Hamid Nihal Ansari is incarcerated right now since his conviction in 2016. First, he was in Peshawar Central Jail, but recently the Peshawar Central Jail is going through restructuring. So the lawyer tells me that he met him a few weeks ago in this particular jail. This is a brand new jail, and from what I understand right now, earlier on in the Peshawar Central Jail, Mr. Hamid was being kept in a high security sort of confinement because he was also attacked. But then he filed a writ petition through his lawyer saying that he wants to be kept in the normal conditions. So apparently, from what we know, inside this jail, he's being kept in normal conditions. Hamid Ansari, as everybody knows, went missing in 2012 when he tried to enter Pakistan. Apparently, he says he entered Pakistan through a tourist visa, but the Pakistani authorities say that he entered illegally into Pakistan nearby, where we're standing in Mardan. Nearby here, there's a city, Kohat, which was his destination. He was supposed to meet a girl, according to his family, who he had met on over Facebook, and then he was supposed to sort of stop her from a forced marriage that she was getting into. But the Pakistani authorities say that he was involved in espionage, and then one journalist, Silla Almeida, who was investigating his case, she went missing and recently reappeared. She went missing in 2015 and then reappeared 2 years after. She was investigating the case of Hamid Ansari, who's in this jail behind me. And then in 2016, we saw Hamid Ansari also coming to the foreground and sort of appearing, and the government was told that he is in military custody, and a military court has tried him out and found him and convicted him for espionage for 3 years. Right now, from what we understand, Hamid has filed a petition at the Peshawar High Court for remission, for saying that he was arrested in 2015, so his 3 years of sentencing that he got for espionage, that should finish earlier, but according to the authorities, they say that that kind of remission cannot be applied. The jail authorities here are saying that because he was involved in anti-state activities, according to his challan, according to the charges against him, he will not get that remission sort of relief, and that's why his lawyer has gone to the Peshawar High Court, and his hearing is set for next week.
So that's my colleague Taha Siddiqui reporting from the spot. Taha, you stay with me, but Mr. Chima, my question to you is, as Taha very lucidly gave us the detail of the case about the dynamics of it, but the question remains, once the legal sentence is served, the legal sentence, which is the law of land of the Pakistan, why shouldn't the person be set free? And second, what about that mysterious disappearance and reappearance of the journalist?
Well, I think the first question that you have been asking is that since he has served the term, he must be released. I think he has been court-martialed. And since he has been court-martialed, definitely the military court has to decide what is to happen. And once the case goes to the military court, then definitely the gentleman who has been caught has been caught under extraordinary circumstances. And since he does not have...
I'm sorry I'm stopping you, but I'll just make a point and then you can answer. I think when civilian cases or the cases of even alleged espionage takes place, they go to the courts. For example, the Kasab's case went to the civil court. You know, it went to the civil court. Court-martial comes into play when it is about the serving personnel or the army personnel, you know. So that distinction doesn't seem to be there.
Well, I think it depends on your country has a different law and our country has a different law. Anyone who has been subverting laws, there have been people in Pakistan who have been tried under the court-martial. They have been done court-martial because we have a special military courts in this country because of the extraordinary circumstances, and the parliament gave approval for those military courts. And one thing is very clear: if anyone is coming in Pakistan without documents, he will definitely be tried. And definitely, if he's an Indian coming from Afghanistan, even, you know, the Indians kept our pigeons, considering them as spies. But we have actually men who have been caught and they have been termed as spies. So definitely the Pakistan military courts will try them, because the parliament has given approval and parliament has vetted the law. We have a law in the country that because we have extraordinary circumstances for that. But as you are talking about the journalist question, definitely Pakistan is considered a dangerous country as far as the journalists are concerned, and the international reports have been coming. But I think the non-state actors and the terrorist organizations, the way they have been threatening the terrorists. And we have seen a journalist was murdered in India by allegedly by BJP or the RSS elements.
Mr. Chima, no. Please don't use the word RSS or India. You know, I'm not doing a comparative analysis here, sir. I was just asking you a simple question. So, but you stay with me. Taha, can you tell me the inside story of the reappearance and disappearance of the journalist?
Well, Kartike, basically, Zeenat Shehzadi, she works with a local news organization in Lahore, and in 2015. She had approached the Commission for Inquiry of Enforced Disappearance, former Chief Justice back in 2010-11, and that commission basically investigates enforced disappearances, which is a big issue in Pakistan, and there are a number of people that have been missing for many years now. Some point fingers towards agencies in the country. The authorities in the country deny such claims and say that these people have perhaps escaped the country or are perhaps fighting, and that's why they are assumed missing. They're fighting against the state, etc. So, but basically, so coming back to Zeenat Shehzadi, so she had approached the Enforced Disappearances Commission because Hamid Ansari's mother had contacted her as a journalist. She was like, I will investigate this case. So she went to the Enforced Disappearance Commission, filed sort of an inquiry there, and asked them to investigate. And then the inquiry was supposed to sort of
Taha, there have been, the official version is that the non-state actors had picked her up, but there have been at least majority of cases where the ISI has picked up the journalist, or some part of the heart state has picked up the journalist for questioning.
Kartike, I mean, in that case, definitely there are agencies that are involved, and these are allegations. Of course, nothing has been proven as yet. But again, the courts, the way the courts work here, the way the police works here, the prosecution works here, over 120 journalists have been killed since 2000. But only 3 of them, there were convictions, and even in those convictions, punishments have not taken place. And those were with regards to the militant groups that had attacked those journalists. As far as the authorities, we know that there was this very famous case of Salim Shahzad in 2011 when he went missing from Islamabad, from the city I am based in, and he was investigating links of the military with militants, and he went missing while going to a TV show, and then later on appeared, his body appeared, and he was killed during some kind of torture. A commission was formed after that, also an inquiry commission. Later on, the inquiry commission could not place any blame. The people who had, he had categorically told Human Rights Watch that the intelligence agency officers were threatening him. There were emails from him to different human rights activists saying that, who are these particular individuals, who belong to which agencies. He had mentioned all of that, but despite that, no action was taken as far as the agencies are concerned. I mean, just right now as we speak, there is a fellow journalist. He's a close friend. He works for the largest leading news organization called Geo here and the News. His name is Hamid Nurani, and he has just been attacked almost an hour ago. And over the last few weeks and few months that I've been talking to, he had said that he had been receiving threats from authorities, from indirectly and directly, saying that he should stop criticizing certain military establishment issues and stop talking about that.
Or even Almeida's case, Taha, you are pretty much aware of the Almeida's case, Taha. You have looked into the case up close and personal.
there is the case of Silla Almeida, in which Silla Almeida was also, again, he had reported on an altercation between the military and the civilians, and then he had to be, he was put on an exit control list. He had to appear before an inquiry commission to reveal his sources, was pressurized. Dawn newspaper right now, which he works for, its subscription has gone down. Its subscription has been cancelled in many of the areas in the country, and they're under constant pressure still. So definitely the environment to work for journalists, and Zeenat Shehzadi in that environment was working for a very local, small organization, so she did not enjoy the kind of protection perhaps Cyril enjoyed, or perhaps international journalists enjoy, and because of that she was picked up few days before she had to appear and give a statement in front of the Enforced Disappearance Commission, and then 2 years later she appears, and the Enforced Commission person is saying that she was in the tribal belt. But how did she go from Lahore and ended up in the tribal belt? The tribal belt is full of Pakistani, Pakistani military, and the authorities, the security forces are there. It's a very security environment there. Taking her there, transporting her there, all of these are big questions. And after she has come back, she has disappeared again in a different way. But her house is locked in Lahore, and they have relocated, and she doesn't want to talk to the media. If she went through that ordeal of anti-state elements taking her away, I would have assumed that she would come forward and talk about it. But the fact that she is not talking, a lot of people are pointing to the fact that she probably came back with a deal of not revealing who her abductors were.
Yes, Mr. Chima, before I close the bulletin, can there be a way out where both India and Pakistan can actually swap civilians? There are different types of arrests which take place across the borders, and without getting into the nitty-gritties of particular cases, is there a possibility, is there a hope for devising an architecture where civilians, for whatever mistakes they commit, can at least be swapped or can be sent back to their countries? Or you find that's a remote possibility?
Well, I personally believe that India and Pakistan must go on issue-to-issue base. The Kashmir issue must be kept separate. Economy should be kept separate. All these civilians who are caught at borders, they must be kept separate. So issue-to-issue basis things must be resolved, and because of one issue, the entire relationship must not compromise. This is a trouble between India and Pakistan, that entire relationship gets compromised on one single issue. That could be Kashmir, that could be terrorism, that could be anything. So I think issue-to-issue basis, and this particular issue where the civilians or the cross-border wrongly, or the fishermen or such kind of things, they must be dealt on priority basis, and India and Pakistan authorities must come forward, and I think there is a probability of that.
I think that's a relevant point you made. But before I let go of you, Taha, the parting comments from you, Taha, on this story. So what's the future roadmap? What happens from now on? You have been reporting there. You went to the spot. You got heckled also. So what happens from now on? How does the case get pursued?
Well, basically, the court is supposed to hear on November 1st with regards to whether remission relief should be offered to him or not. From what I understand, the lawyer told me that on 1st of November, which is next week, the courts will basically send out notices to the jail authorities and to other different respective organizations to explain their position as to why Hamid Ansari is not getting the remission as a normal prisoner should, as a normal civilian prisoner should, and when he was not involved in anti-state activities, which is the plea that the lawyer and he himself is taking. The lawyer feels that if things go according to his plan, and if these notices are served and the responses come in through, he will be able to get him out in the next few months. But that is being on the optimistic side. But given the very fact that this case involves, military, this courts, this case involves espionage allegations, it could take much longer, and he might end up serving all of his sentence.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chima, and thank you, Taha, for being on this special broadcast. A story which WION broke, a story which WION is going to pursue, and a story which concerns an Indian who has served his sentence but continued to languish behind bars because authorities in Pakistan refused to let him go.
Incarcerated on false charges in Pakistan.
Hamid Ansari, as everybody knows, went missing in 2012 when he tried to enter Pakistan through a tourist visa.
WION locates Indian national Nihal Hamid Ansari.
Behind me you can see this is the road that leads to the Mardan Central Jail, and it is here where the Indian national Hamid Nihal Ansari is incarcerated right now.
The journalist who worked for Ansari's freedom has resurfaced after having disappeared, caged in Pakistan. Today, all day on WION, World is One News.